Hey guys, Josh here. Doraemon Story of Seasons Friends of the Great Kingdom just released a few days ago, and I wanted to make this video to address a few questions I've been seeing asked a lot. First, do you need to know about Doraemon to enjoy this game? Second, do you need to have played the first Doraemon Story of Seasons to enjoy this game? And third, should you play the first game after this one or before, and which one is better? I will talk about all of these things, and at the same time you will get a good idea of what the second game in the Doraemon Story of Seasons series is about. But if you're looking for a full review, stay tuned as that should be coming in a few weeks. I want to take my time to enjoy this game, but for now let's answer these common questions. So, do you need to know about Doraemon to enjoy this game? The answer is no. The main character and his group of friends are all from the popular Japanese series Doraemon, and if you are familiar with the series, you will recognize the characters and their own quirks, personality traits, but even if you're not familiar with them, the game does a great job at standing on its own and you will get acquainted with the characters pretty quickly. Also, the whole plot takes place on a different planet after Nobi and his friends get on a spaceship, so all the characters, environments, and everything that will happen on that planet is brand new. One little quirk of the series that is good to know if you really don't know anything about Doraemon is that Doraemon is a robot cat from the future and he has thousands of different gadgets for any situation. The most famous one is the Anywhere door, which allows people to travel to anywhere. So you will see a lot of these gadgets during your playthrough, so if you know Doraemon, well, you will probably recognize some of them, but if you don't, you will be perfectly fine. Another thing to keep in mind is that since you are playing as Nobi, who is a kid, there is no romance, no marriage in this game. However, you live with your friends in this big house, and it actually comes with pretty interesting game mechanics, which we will talk about a bit later. There's also not much in terms of character customization, just a few different outfits, so if for you romance and character creation are must-have features, this game might not be for you. Other than that though, for the most part, it plays like a classic Story of Seasons game, with a bigger emphasis on the story and a little Doraemon twist to it. But no, you don't need to be familiar with Doraemon to enjoy it, and as long as you like farming games, you're good to go. Second question is, do you need to have played the first Doraemon Story of Seasons to enjoy this one? And again, the answer is no. If you did, you will of course recognize Nobi and his group of friends, as well as some patterns in the story. They end up in an unknown place, Nobi ends up working on the farm, and the other friends will get jobs around the town. In both games, Big G will work with the carpenters, Sneetch will be at the restaurant, and Sue at the clinic. So if you played the first game, it's kind of a fun Easter egg, but even though the story is pretty similar, it also stands on its own, as I said, and it's not a continuation of the first one. All of the characters and places are new, and you will do perfectly fine without having played the first game. So with that being said, should you play the first game? Well, if you're like me and you want to play all of the farming games, I would say go for it because it is a fun game, it's often on sale, and once you're done with it, you can play the second game and appreciate it even more. But if, like most people, you only want or can only get one of the two games, then without hesitation, I will say go for the second one, and I will explain why. The two games feel and look extremely similar, and for someone who hasn't played any of them, they could be difficult to differentiate. The story is similar, the menus and maps are almost the same, many of the assets are reused, not only the environments, but also items, bugs, fish, crops. The gameplay mechanics like mining, farming, and even all the items you can buy at the shops are almost identical. With that being said though, the developers paid really close attention to the players' feedback after the first game, and that led to a huge amount of improvements in the second one. They kept all of the good things and fixed what people didn't like. In both games, there is quite an emphasis on storytelling, there are tons and tons of cutscenes, you will have to read a lot in this game, and on top of the main storyline, each family will also have their own events and things happening, and sometimes you will need to trigger some of these before you can continue the main quest. Each event has a specific set of requirements, like reaching a certain level of friendship with a character, and being at the right place at the right time. The first game, however, doesn't tell you those requirements, so I sometimes spent weeks with nothing happening and no progress in the story because I didn't befriend a certain character enough, for example, and I just had no idea what to do. It was a nice surprise to see these events happening when you were not expecting them, but it was also very easy to lose track of what was even happening in those events because there were so many different scenarios and no simple way to keep track. In the second game, there is a tracker in the menu that shows you all of the quests and their requirements, as well as a description so you remember what is happening. They also appear on the map so you always know what to do and where to go. Just like in the first game, there are a lot of events and sometimes it can feel overwhelming, like you have too many things to do, but at least you will never spend a day or maybe even weeks just wondering what to do next and how to progress in the story. You will always know what to do and it's always straightforward. Also, this might be a personal preference, but I found the dialogues in the second game more engaging and I'm getting more attached to the different characters. There are 4 different races, each with their own distinct physical traits, but also their own culture, and those make the cast feel very diverse and it's just fun to see the different races interact with each other. My favorite characters are the ice elves, and they're pretty much like Penguin, and Ori is the cutest character in the whole game, but unfortunately he has no one to play with because his mom is sick and his dad is always busy, and I'm looking forward to seeing how their family will deal with all of these issues. Every family has little stories like these, and in the first game they did too, but I could barely remember anyone's name, so they are definitely more interesting this time around. Keep in mind though, both games have pretty long introductions. You will spend the first 1 to 2 hours just meeting everyone and learning about the town, but with the second game it is still a bit shorter and it's broken up in smaller portions, so you get to play a bit in between the events. But the biggest change has to be all of the quality of life improvements. I'll just go and list the first ones that come to mind. So you can now see your stamina on the HUD, so you don't have to open the menu every time. Opening the shipping box is no longer a different button than everything else. You can see for how much an item will sell. You can pick up eggs even if there's a chicken on top. Your inventory is separated in 2 parts, one for your tools, another one for the rest. You now need to press a button before you take out an item so you are less likely to eat something by accident. Nobi is a lot faster when doing things like mining and cutting wood, and he doesn't make as much noise. The time stops when you decorate your farm and all of your furniture is stored in one place. Later on, you can also move your crops and trees around. Fruit trees are new to the second game. Also, requests from villagers now appear on a bulletin board instead of during random conversations, so it's easy to keep track of them, and seriously, there's so much more. These might all seem like small things, but when you add everything, it does make the experience so much more seamless and pleasant. If you play the second game, then try to go back to the first one. You will probably find it very clunky. Knowing that the second game has pretty much all the content and mechanics of the first one, it is hard to justify playing the first one, especially since the second one has new content on top of it. As I said previously, the fruit trees, but also giant crops, alpacas, you can also raise bugs and fish. There are online functionalities like the ability to see a friend or a random person's farm, as well as to send them some items. Those are things I would love to see in more farming games, and my favorite addition is the 2-player mode. There is a local co-op mode, but even if you're by yourself, you can ask any of your roommates to go with you, and they will water the crops or help you with whatever you're doing. Start fishing and they will fish too, start mining and they will mine too. This makes it a lot easier to progress in the mines, by the way, and everything your friend collects will go in your inventory. This is honestly my favorite feature of this game. And as I was saying at the beginning, there's no romance or marriage in Doraemon Story of Seasons, but this really makes you feel like you're not alone. This group of friends all live together in this big house, they eat breakfast together every day, and whenever you're ready to go out, just invite your cutest friend and work together. It's so nice that you're not the only one working for once. I need to see this in more farming games, and just for that reason alone, I say get the second game over the first one. The last point worth mentioning is the difficulty. Of course, the game is easier since quests can be tracked, you have friends to help you work, but also friendships go up way faster. Just 10 days in and I have 3 hearts with most characters, and I didn't even go out of my way to give them gifts. I just talked to them once a day and did a few requests. This makes you progress in the story a lot faster since most of the events are locked behind a certain friendship level, but also you will make a lot more money. I'm making 1,000 to 3,000 every day just by selling a few fish, and things are much cheaper. For example, a cow costs 600 coins instead of 6,000, and the upgrades for copper tools, for example, require 6 copper ores instead of 30, so you make more money and everything is way cheaper. By day 3 or 4, I already had one of each animal, and Basically, animals will pay themselves back after just a few days of selling their products, instead of being long-term investments like in most other farming games, so that is really different. The first game, on the other hand, was very grindy. It took a long time to get anything done. You had to work really hard to get even one tool upgrade or one new building on your farm. But now everything is quick and you feel the progress as soon as you start playing. So I'm still early in the second game and I know there are tons of things to build and unlock, and I will be able to focus on decorating my farm earlier than in the first game, but because progress is so much faster, I wonder if it will keep me busy for as long. In the end, I think it's a matter of personal preference. If you like a very grindy game, which I do sometimes, it's relaxing and keeps me busy for a long time, that is one thing to consider for the first game, but if you prefer a game in which you make progress faster, then the second game might be better suited for you. Honestly, I wish there was an in-between for that, but besides the pacing and difficulty, all things considered, the second game is just much better on every other level, and I find it hard to justify playing the first game now. They're both great. If you find the first one on sale and you cannot afford the second one, it is still a good option, but if you're really just looking for the best experience out of these two games, then absolutely go for the second one. It has more content, the story is more interesting, and all of the quality of life improvements make a world of difference. So, what do you think? Have you played these two games? What do you like or dislike about each one? If you have not played them, I really hope this video helped you make a decision. And if you're still not decided, then make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out when I upload my full review. And I'll see you all in the next video.